Using Query Store with Azure SQL Scale-Out is a powerful way to improve the performance and scalability of your database. Query Store is a feature in Azure SQL that allows you to monitor and optimize query performance in real time. Here is a step-by-step guide on how to use Query Store with Azure SQL Scale-Out. First, you need to enable Query Store on your Azure SQL database. This can be done by navigating to the Azure portal, selecting your database, and clicking on the Query Store option under the Intelligent Performance section. You can then toggle the Query Store switch to the On position. Once Query Store is enabled, you can start monitoring query performance. Query Store collects data on query execution, including execution plans, CPU and memory usage, and wait times. You can view this data in the Azure portal by navigating to the Query Store section of your database. To optimize query performance using Query Store, you need to identify the queries that are consuming the most resources. You can do this by running a query against the Query Store DMVs or dynamic management views. For example, you can run the following query to get the top 10 most resource-intensive queries in your database. Next, you can use the information collected by Query Store to optimize the performance of your queries. This can include rewriting queries, creating indexes, and optimizing database parameters. Query Store also allows you to force a specific query plan, which can help to improve performance in cases where the query optimizer is choosing a suboptimal plan. When using Query Store with Azure SQL Scale-Out, there are a few best practices to keep in mind. First, make sure to configure Query Store to collect data on all databases in your scale-out environment. This will give you a complete view of query performance across all databases. Second, use the Query Store data to identify queries that are consuming the most resources and optimize those queries first. Finally, use the Force Plan feature to ensure that queries are using the most efficient plan possible. In conclusion, using Query Store with Azure SQL Scale-Out is a powerful way to improve the performance and scalability of your database. By monitoring query performance in real time and optimizing queries based on the data collected, you can significantly improve the performance of your database. By following the steps outlined in this guide, you can get started with using Query Store with Azure SQL Scale-Out today.